What's the story, guys? Forgive the blank screen, but I'm rushing this out in a hurry. We've had an absolute bombshell. In the last few hours, Jim Gavin has pulled out of the presidential election. His campaign has been scuppered on the revelation that he owned an apartment back around the boom period, and he lost it in the crash. So nothing shameful about that. But it turns out he never paid back the down payment that people were renting that apartment back to him back in the day. That seems to be the story anyway, so it looked like he trousered a couple of £1,000. He got roasted on this earlier on in an interview on RTE. The whole thing seemed to have been borne out now. So he's just announced that he's pulled out of the election and he's not going to stand. So Fianna Fáil have no candidate in this race. It's an absolute bombshell and it's throwing a cat among the visions into the whole thing. So now we're left with a two-horse race with Humphrey and Connolly. Now, the mainstream media are going to go on about them tomorrow. That's going to be the main story for them. And there's going to be a lot of poking the finger at Fianna Fáil and how they've actually screwed this up so much. But what I think is the real story here is now, for the first time, I actually now think we've got a situation where, because interest in this election is so low, I mean, we were talking about 40% turning out, which is really bad for Irish politics. We could now be in the situation where more people will spoil their votes for who they want in this election than who's actually standing in it. And that's amazing. I mean, I was of the opinion myself that if somebody was putting in, say, Maria Steen because she got shafted, I thought they might come third as a protest vote. But now with what looking like Fianna Fáil having nobody to turn up, they're literally going to have to vote for the blue shirt. So the choice for them is to grit their teeth and do that, or just not vote. And I think a lot of them just won't vote. So we could have a situation where turnout will be so low that the protest vote not only will be significant, it could actually win. Now, it's not a valid candidate. They're not going to be president, but it will be a monumental humiliation for the state if the most votes in this election get cast for somebody who isn't in it. And the big story in this is going to be, what's this going to mean for Micheál Martin? Because this is a nail in the coffin of his Taoiseach club. There's a lot of discontent against his leadership, and I think this is going to be the one that pushes him out the door. So he's going to come under major pressure for how this is all falling apart. I mean, what makes me laugh right now is this guy has basically gone out of the election over a couple of £1,000. And the last time I remember something that being raised in his head with Fianna Fáil was in relation to Bertie Ahern, who probably right now is sitting in Drumcondra having a pint, laughing his ass off about how this is all played out. I mean, the whole thing is an omni-shambles. I mean, the Irish people are now stuck in a situation where they got to vote for either one had Heather Humphreys, a fucking retiree who didn't want to do this in the first place, who was the director of elections for the last referendum on care and marriage that failed miserably, and actually stands over feckin' legislation in relation to hate speech that will put me in feckin' jail for talking to you about this subject in the first place. And you got Connolly on the other side, a feckin' communist with stronger ties to feckin' terrorism right now than the Shinners. Neither of these people are inspiring. And why are we stuck with this? Because Micheál Martin and Simon Harris lent on their TDs, lent on their council and said, do not let anyone else stand in this election. Don't even let themselves get on the ballot. And I think that's going to come back to bore Micheál Martin, because there would have been Fianna Fáilists that would have signed for Steen. They wouldn't have supported her, but they would have said they have to get on the ballot. At least they would have had some sort of reflected glory of having to say, well, we helped facilitate her. Now they've nothing. Now Fianna Fáil have no horse in this race at all. It's just amazing. So like I said, sorry about the state of this video with the gaps and all that. It's just like, this is breaking news, literally only the last couple of hours. It's going to be all over the news this morning on the radio, waiting you see. And like I said, the press are going to focus on the runners and riders who are already there. I think the big deal is going to be what this means for the protest vote. I think it's nailed on to be huge now. And it's going to be an enormously entertaining election from this. And the knockout fallout from this probably is going to be Micheál Martin's head. So there you go, guys. That's just a quick update here on what's going on. Jim Gavin out of the presidential race.